Over 25 years of research in change management from ProSci has shown us that sponsorship engagement is the #1 success factor for change success. There is nothing more powerful than having the senior leaders in an organization supporting and living the change. Without the sponsor, there would most likely not be a lot of change. Our sponsors or leaders are often the ones who initiate change. They bring the team together to make it a reality. But their role does not end there, which is the topic of today's clip. We'll not only be looking at what it takes to be a successful sponsor, but we will lean on the research to show us how to be a successful sponsor. My name is Tom, and we are &Change. What does it take to be a successful sponsor? According to ProSci's research, successful sponsors of change possess certain traits. It would be great to see all of these in every sponsor, which can be a challenge. All successful sponsors of change have at least some of these traits. What are they? They are practicing strong communication skills, being passionate and enthusiastic, staying engaged and involved, being visible and supportive, being approachable and available, and having credibility. With strong communication skills, good sponsors can articulate themselves well and communicate comfortably with someone at any level in the organization. This skill includes specifically communicating their vision of the future. They will need to paint a clear picture and be consistent. And in my experience, this is a significant challenge. Explaining the change in the same way each time they discuss it with their audiences. Being passionate and enthusiastic is all about projecting the energy of the leader. Their attitude towards the change is infectious, and if it isn't positive, then you could expect people to follow suit. This behavior speaks to the nature of the change and how it is presented. Being engaged and involved in the change with the project team is a rarer trait with sponsors. This involves not just talking about the change, but walking the walk. Sponsors displaying this trait inspire their people to change by being part of the change themselves, enabling quick course corrections and adjustments. When sponsors are visible and supportive, they demonstrate support beyond the project or change team. It is about providing visibility of the change and its benefits regularly, announcing and repeating their support for the change. So, do they regularly advocate for the change to take place with their fellow leaders? Approachable and available comes down to one core resource: time. Is the sponsor available for meetings and other sponsorship activities? Can we approach them comfortably to ask for engagement when it is required? This can have relevance on the level of the sponsor. While these traits contribute to change success, they do not tell us how to be successful. According to ProSci's best practice research, 3 critical activity sets are included in successful sponsorship. These are known as the ABCs of sponsorship. The A for active and visible participation throughout the project, the B for building a coalition of sponsorship, and C for communicating directly with impacted people. These are easy to say but harder to do, particularly for time-pressed senior leaders. Let me explain. Usually, a project manager will ask for executive decisions on their project. These decisions will typically relate to scope, resources, and risk. Change managers, on the other hand, typically ask sponsors to take action aligned with being visible, building coalitions, and communicating directly with affected people. Being active and visible throughout the project goes hand in hand with several of the traits we named earlier, such as being approachable and available, and being engaged and involved. To be active and visible, sponsors need to engage with the change from day one. And the people impacted need to see their presence and commitment to the change through their support of the team. They can also proactively remove barriers by playing their part in managing resistance and including change management practices in the decision-making processes. Removing barriers aligns with Robert Greenleaf's concept of servant leadership, where the leader acts as someone who serves the team in achieving their goals. This practice does not mean that the leader does all the work, but they can act to grease the wheels with other functions to help their team achieve their deadlines sooner or more effectively. Also need to track success, to give recognition and monitor change readiness. It's easy to catch someone doing something wrong, but the leader should instead catch someone doing something right, recognize and spotlight it to everyone. This action drives positive reinforcement of the change and builds the desire in those who seek recognition. In change, we have change champions, and the most significant change champion should be the sponsors, sincerely believing in the change and being an early adopter. This approach builds enthusiasm about the change and displays one of the essential traits, creating engagement through passion and enthusiasm. Now, building a coalition of sponsors is essential when a change involves multiple functions or areas in the organization, because each sponsor must support the change and model it to those reporting to them. A coalition is therefore the visible rendition of the joint will of the executive to see the change become the new way. Without participation across the entire sponsor coalition, you risk having parts of the organization becoming excluded from the change, resulting in misalignment, resistance, and confusion. The primary sponsor typically communicates the vision and inspires fellow sponsors to be role models for the change in their respective areas. As I said earlier, finding all 6 traits in a single sponsor is a challenge. The sponsor coalition could demonstrate all 6 traits to those impacted by the change. Within the coalition, each sponsor can support the others, presenting a unified and robust approach to the change. Management support and maintaining an active network of change agents across the organization ensures alignment across levels and opens up feedback possibilities. Sponsors can communicate support by being vocal about the change, the specifics, the need for change, and the end vision. As we know, good communication skills are a cornerstone of excellent sponsorship. So, communication specialists can assist them in this activity, but assisting does not mean delivering the message of change instead of the sponsors. Employees are more likely to adopt the change if the sponsor shows them they are essential by talking directly to them. In this way, the sponsor sets the direction and the focus of the change. You may have heard us quote a vital piece of research ProSci has done to date, and that is the research on the preferred senders of the message of change. This data supports the notion that sponsorship communication is critical to any change. It also clarifies which messages of change fall within their remit, and that other leaders also play a part in communicating other messages about the change to the impacted people. Why do we need to change? What are the specifics of the change? What is the value of the change? The sponsor should be willing to take the time to communicate with the impacted groups and answer these questions, creating awareness for the change. I think we have all experienced change, and to a greater or lesser extent, experienced sponsorship of change. Let us know in the comments section which traits you have seen most often in your leaders and which ones help you make the change they asked you to make. What would you like to see more of in these challenging times? We take all feedback on board to help us build more clips that people want to see. So if you want to see the following clip in the series, subscribe to our channel and please like this video. From myself, Tom, and all of us here at And Change, many happy changes.